Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, let's talk some boxing. So we're looking at world champions. And now we're going to look at the WBO Featherweight Champion of the World, Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko, as you can see here, won the WBO Featherweight Championship of the World from Gary Russell Jr., who you see in the white trunks, Vasyli's in the left. As you can see, Vasyl Lomachenko is a southpaw. Gary Russell Jr. is also a southpaw, so this is a very interesting fight. This is a fight between two southpaws. Now, as you can see, Vasyl Lomachenko is a very well-schooled, well-crafted boxer. He couldn't be any better a boxer. So is Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. is very fast, and he works behind his jab, whereas Vasyl Lomachenko works with a number of different techniques. So he slips punches sometimes, he uses the high guard, he stays on the outside, and he will slip punches, get on the inside, and then land those beautiful body shots. And that's how he broke down Gary Russell Jr. Really a beauty to watch how he uses timing and thwarts Gary Russell's speed. That's a whole class session on timing versus speed. Alright, now let's look at Vasyl Lomachenko's record. It's not really much. Believe it or not, this guy became world champion within 3 fights. So he's only had 4 fights as a professional. He's lost 1, and that was to Orlando Salido, the super featherweight champion of the world currently. And he's won 3. He has a knockout percentage of 25% at present. So he has had very little fights in the pros. But the major reason why he's been put in such deep competition so early in his career is because he had an extensive amateur career, and he's had 3 gold medals. So this is the reason why. Now, if you look at his record, there are only 2 names that really stand out, of which only one is really significant. But yet, we're going to still talk about the other one. And the name that stands out there is Orlando Salido. Orlando Salido was at the time 40 fights, 12 defeats, 2 draws, and it looks sort of an average sort of fight, but Orlando Salido brings with him immense amount of experience. I think Orlando Salido came in overweight, so he lost the title. But he did beat Lomachenko. So even though he did lose his title in that fight, he did beat Lomachenko. So Lomachenko didn't win the title either. And this is when Orlando Salido moved up in weight to super featherweight, and Lomachenko had to vie for that vacant title with Gary Russell Jr., as it says here, in which he won a majority decision over Gary Russell Jr., who came on strong at the end of the fight. Gary Russell Jr., he actually got figured out Lomachenko and started to really box him. Now, Gary Russell Jr. was undefeated when Vasyl Lomachenko fought him. But the level of competition that Gary Russell Jr. fought was always questionable. And when he met, strangely as it sounds, when he met the amateur experienced Vasyl Lomachenko, he was actually at a disadvantage because Vasyl actually faced very tough competition in Orlando Salido in his 2nd fight as a pro. Now, since then, Orlando Salido has defended his world title against this gentleman, whose name I'm not even going to attempt to try to pronounce right at this present time, in Macau, China. And now he's going to be defending yet again against Gamaliel Rodriguez, and that's going to happen on May the 2nd under the Mayweather-Pacquiao card. So that should be very, very, very interesting. So that's basically all I have to say about Vasyl Lomachenko at this point in time. He doesn't really have a lot to say about in his pro career, so we have to look to see what will happen in his pro career. I guess we will look to see how he fares against this journeyman veteran fighter, what that veteran fighter has to bring to the table. Did he learn anything from fighting Orlando Salido? And will he bring what he's learned with Orlando Salido to the table against Gamaliel Rodriguez? So, based on that, we have to wait and see what happens with Vasyl Lomachenko's career. Until then, you guys Have a great day.